Most people will never become wealthy. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, not because they don't work hard. They will never become wealthy because they don't understand the psychology of wealth. Wealth is not about making a lot of money. Most people make a lot of money at some point. They inherit it. They get a bonus. They have a good year. And then it's gone. Wealth is about what you do with money once you have it. The difference between someone who makes $200,000 and stays broke and someone who makes $50,000 and builds $1 million net worth is not income. It's behavior. It's psychology. It's understanding a specific set of principles that most people never learn. Today's guest has studied this extensively. She's found that the patterns that separate wealthy people from everyone else are not mysterious. They're not complicated. They're just uncommon. Rosie, welcome to Scale Up Stories.
Thank you for having me. And I want to start with something that surprises most people. Income is almost uncorrelated with wealth.
What do you mean by that?
I studied 500 founders and non-founders, tracked their income and their net worth. The correlation was surprisingly weak. Some high-income earners had massive net worth. Others had zero. Some moderate income earners had millions in net worth.
Why is that?
Because wealth is not about how much money comes in. Wealth is about the difference between how much comes in and how much goes out. That difference, compounded over time, is wealth. The high-income person who spends everything they make has zero wealth. The moderate income person who saves 30% of what they make and invests, it becomes wealthy.
So it's literally just math.
It's literally just math. But it's math that most people don't do. They think, if I just make more money, I'll be rich. No. If you make more money and you spend it all, you're just rich for the month. Wealth comes from saving and investing the difference.
How much of the difference matters?
Let me give you the math. If you make $50,000 and save 20%, you have $10,000 to invest per year. If you invest that at 7% annual return, in 30 years, you have $950,000. If you make $150,000 and save 5%, you have $7,500 to invest per year. In 30 years, you have $712,500. The person making $50K ends up wealthier because they saved a higher percentage.
That's a powerful example.
It's the most important example because it means wealth is not destiny. It's not about your starting point. It's about your behavior.
What are the specific behaviors that separate wealthy people from everyone else?
I've identified 5 core patterns, and interestingly, they're not genius-level insights, they're just patterns that most people don't follow. The first pattern is awareness of spending. Wealthy people know exactly where their money goes. Not approximately, exactly. They track every dollar. Most people have no idea. They have vague notions. I spend too much on food, or I should save more, but they don't actually know.
How much difference does that tracking make?
Enormous. The act of tracking your spending changes your behavior. You see where you're wasting money. You naturally spend less. Most wealthy people told me that the single biggest factor in their wealth accumulation was knowing, in detail, where their money went. When you know you spent $200 on coffee last month, it hits differently than I spend too much on coffee. That specificity creates behavioral change.
What's the second pattern?
Consistent saving before spending. This sounds obvious, but almost nobody does it. Most people earn money, spend on their lifestyle, and save whatever is left. Wealthy people do the opposite. They earn money, save a percentage, and spend what's left. That order matters. It's the difference between saving nothing and saving 30%.
How do you discipline yourself to do that?
Automation. You set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account on payday. Before you even see the money, you pay yourself first. The psychology is important here. If the money is available to you, you'll spend it. If it's automatically transferred, you don't think about it. You adjust your lifestyle to what's left. It's the same principle as paying taxes people accept after-tax income as their real income because they never see the money that was taken.
What's the third pattern?
Long-term thinking about money. Wealthy people think in decades, not in months or years. They make decisions based on 2 zero-year outcomes, not this month's cash flow. That means they might choose to take a lower-paying job that has equity upside. They might invest in something that takes years to pay off. They might accept short-term pain for long-term gain. Most people think short-term. I need money now. I want to spend it now. That short-term thinking is the enemy of wealth.
How do you develop that long-term mindset?
You have to get very clear on your long-term goal, not vague, be rich, specific. I want to have 2 million by age 50. Once you have that specific goal, you can work backwards. How much do I need to save? How much return do I need? When do I need to start? That clarity changes how you think about money. Every spending decision becomes, does this help or hurt my goal?
What's the fourth pattern?
Risk tolerance and learning about investing. Wealthy people understand the fundamentals of investing. They understand diversification, compound returns, risk-adjusted returns. They're not necessarily experts, but they know enough to make informed decisions. Most people either avoid investing because they're scared, or they make dumb investing decisions. Either way, they miss out on compound growth.
Does it take expertise to invest well?
No, it takes basic knowledge and discipline. You don't need to be a stock picker. You need to understand index funds, dollar cost averaging, and long-term asset allocation. That knowledge is freely available. You could read one book and understand 80% of what you need to know.
And the fifth pattern?
Identity alignment with wealth. This is the deepest one. Wealthy people see themselves as wealthy, or they see wealth as compatible with their values. Non-wealthy people often have subconscious beliefs that wealth is bad, or that they don't deserve it, or that making money is wrong. Those beliefs are corrosive. They create self-sabotage. You unconsciously undermine your own wealth building because it conflicts with your identity.
How do you know if you have that conflict?
You notice resistance. You say, I want to be wealthy, but you procrastinate on setting up your investments. You feel guilty when you make money. You feel envious of wealthy people. Those are signs of identity misalignment. The fix is to examine your beliefs. Where did you learn that wealth is bad? Is that actually true? Can you update your beliefs to be more aligned with your goals?
You mentioned spending. What's the relationship between income and spending for most people?
Most people experience what I call lifestyle inflation. When your income goes up, your spending goes up at roughly the same rate. You get a raise, you upgrade your apartment. You get a bonus, you buy a car. You never increase your savings rate.
Why does that happen?
Psychology. We calibrate our lifestyle to what we think we can afford. When we have more, we assume we can afford more. That's natural human behavior, but it's also the primary reason people don't become wealthy. Because no matter how much they earn, they spend almost all of it.
How do you resist that?
You have to be deliberate. You have to say, my lifestyle is X, and my savings rate is Y. And when my income goes up, the savings rate goes up, not my lifestyle. I know founders who make $100K per year and maintain a $40K lifestyle, saving $60K. I know founders who make $1M per year and maintain a $900K lifestyle, saving $100K. The second person is much wealthier, even though they earn more.
That requires a lot of self-awareness.
It does. Most people never develop it. They spend what they have and call it life. Wealthy people are intentional about their lifestyle. They choose it instead of defaulting to it. The psychological key is separating needs from wants. Needs are what you need to survive and be healthy. Wants are everything else. Most people are spending heavily on wants and justifying it as needs. A wealthy person has the same needs as everyone else, but they spend much less on wants. They're intentional about what brings them happiness and what doesn't.
This connects to the famous marshmallow test, right? Ability to delay gratification?
It does, and there's research showing that marshmallow test performance correlates with wealth outcomes. But here's the thing, you can build the ability to delay gratification. It's not fixed. Most people think it is. I'm just not good at saving. No, you can get better at it. It's a muscle.
How do you build it?
Small wins. You don't go from spending everything to saving 50%. You start with saving 5%. You notice that it doesn't hurt. You increase to 10%. You notice you don't miss it. Over time, you build the muscle. The other factor is making it automatic. If you have to use willpower every month to save, you'll fail eventually. If it's automatic, you don't use willpower. It just happens.
What about for people who have a high income but no ability to control spending?
They have to address the underlying issue. Why are they spending compulsively? Is it emotional? Is it social? Is it status-seeking? Once you understand the driver, you can address it. Some people spend because they're unhappy and shopping is therapeutic. They need to address the unhappiness. Some people spend to signal status. They need to update their beliefs about status. Some people spend because all their friends are spending. They need new friends or new values. It's deeper than budgeting. It's about understanding why you spend.
You mentioned compound returns. How powerful is that effect, really?
It's the most powerful force in wealth building. It's not dramatic early on, but over time, it's exponential. Let me give you numbers. $10,000 invested at 7% annual return. After 10 years, $20,000. After 20 years, $40,000. After 30 years, $80,000. After 40 years, $150,000. Most people look at the first 10 years and think, wow, I only doubled my money. But the second 10 years, you quadruple it. The third 10 years, you quadruple it again.
So time is the real variable.
Time is everything. A person who starts saving at 25 and invests $200 per month becomes a millionaire by 65. A person who starts at 35 becomes a multi-100,000 The person who starts at 45 becomes a six-figure person. The difference is not the monthly investment. It's time. It's allowing compound returns to work.
Most people don't start until it's late.
Most people wait until they've made six figures. By then, they've already lost decades of compound growth. That's a huge cost. The earlier you start, the smaller your monthly contribution needs to be. A 5-year-old saving $200 per month becomes wealthy. A 5-year-old needs to save $2,000 per month to reach the same wealth target.
Is luck involved in wealth building?
Luck is involved in extreme wealth. If you become a billionaire, luck played a role. But for normal wealth, becoming a millionaire or a multimillionaire, luck is almost irrelevant. Most wealth building is mechanical. Save money, invest it. Let compound returns work. Do that for 30 years and you're wealthy. You don't need luck.
What about people who inherit money? Are they at an advantage?
They should be, but they're not. I studied inherited wealth and found that people who inherit money are no more likely to build wealth than people who don't. In fact, they're often less likely. Why? Because they don't develop the discipline. They don't learn the behavior patterns. They have money, but not the psychology of wealth.
So you can inherit money and still end up broke?
Yes. Most lottery winners and inheritance recipients end up broke or worse off than before because they never developed the habits that maintain wealth.
You mentioned identity. What does wealth identity look like?
A wealthy person sees themselves as someone who builds wealth. It's not I got lucky. It's I have a plan, I execute on it, money accumulates. They also see wealth as normal, not something that happens to other people, something that happens to people like them. Most people have poverty mentality or scarcity mentality. They see wealth as rare, as something only special people achieve. Wealthy people see it as inevitable if they follow the formula.
How does that mentality develop?
Exposure, mostly. If you grew up around wealthy people and you understand the formula, you internalize it. If you grew up around people who didn't build wealth, you don't. But you can shift your identity even if you didn't grow up with it. You read about wealthy people, you study the patterns, you start practicing them. Over time, you internalize the identity.
Is that why founders often become wealthy? Because they're exposed to the formula?
Partly. Founders also have higher risk tolerance and they think in terms of outcomes. But the main reason is that founding forces you to think about wealth. You can't ignore it. You're trying to build something valuable.
Tell us about your wealth building journey. Did you follow these patterns?
I grew up middle class. My parents were both professionals, but they didn't really think about wealth building. We were comfortable, but not wealthy. In my 20s, I realized that I didn't want to trade time for money forever. I read about investing and wealth building. I got obsessed. I started saving 30% of my income, which was hard on a salary. I read every book I could find. By 30, I had a few $100,000 saved. That was enough to convince me that the formula worked. I could see the compound returns starting to accelerate. That gave me confidence.
What changed when you started the company?
The company accelerated everything. I went from saving 30% of my salary to having equity upside, but the underlying behaviors stayed the same. I tracked spending, I saved and invested aggressively. I thought long-term. The company equity helped, but it was the underlying behavior that made me wealthy, not the company.
Do you still practice those behaviors?
Absolutely. I still track my spending. I still automate savings. I still think in terms of decades. Those behaviors are ingrained. They're part of my identity.
You mentioned beliefs. What are the most common limiting beliefs about wealth that you see?
There are several. The first is wealthy people are greedy or corrupt. This belief makes people instinctively reject wealth-building behaviors because they don't want to be like those people. The reality is that wealthy people are just disciplined. They're not morally superior or inferior. They just follow a different formula.
What's another common belief?
Wealth happens by luck or accident. This is a dangerous belief because if you believe wealth is luck, you don't take responsibility for building it. You wait for luck instead of executing the formula. The third limiting belief is, I'm not smart enough to invest. But investing doesn't require genius-level intelligence. It requires basic knowledge and discipline. Any person with an average IQ can invest successfully.
How do you help people update these beliefs?
You challenge them with evidence. Show them examples of ordinary people who became wealthy. Show them the math. Help them see that the beliefs are not facts. They're stories they've told themselves. Once someone genuinely believes that wealth is possible for them, their behavior changes. They start saving. They start learning about investing. They start thinking long-term. The belief shift is the foundation for behavior change.
Does building wealth require risk-taking?
It requires some risk-taking, but probably less than most people think. The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Keeping your money in cash means you lose to inflation. You have to invest. But you don't have to take crazy risks. You can build wealth with diversified index funds. That's boring, but it works.
What about starting a business? Is that a necessary step to build wealth?
No. You can build millions through salary and investing, but starting a business accelerates it. You get equity upside that salary doesn't provide. The question is not, do I need to start a business? It's, am I willing to take on the extra risk and effort? If yes, business is a great wealth-building tool. If no, salary plus investing still works.
How much longer does it take without a business?
Significantly longer, maybe 10 to 20 years longer, but it still happens if you're disciplined.
Rapid fire?
Ready.
Biggest mistake people make with money?
Spending everything they make and assuming they'll be rich someday.
Minimum savings rate to build wealth?
20%. Below that, wealth building is very slow. At 20%, it's inevitable over 30 years.
Best investment for someone starting out?
Low-cost index fund. Boring, diversified, compound returns. That's it.
Does it matter when you start?
Critically, starting at 25 is 10x better than starting at 35.
Can you become wealthy on a regular salary?
Yes. $50K salary, save 30%, invest it. $1 million in 30 years.
Biggest belief that prevents wealth?
Wealthy people are lucky or greedy. No, they're disciplined.
If you had to write down the formula for wealth, what would it be?
I actually have written it down. It's simple. Wealth equals income, spending times, compound returns, times time. That's it. 4 variables. You increase income, you decrease spending. You invest in things with good returns. You let time work.
Most people focus on the wrong variables.
They do. They focus on increasing income. That's the hardest variable. The easier variables are decreasing spending and starting earlier. A person could increase their income by 20%, or they could decrease their spending by 20%. The latter is easier for most people, but they focus on the former.
Why?
Psychology. Decreasing spending feels like deprivation. Increasing income feels like progress, but both have the same effect on the formula.
Rosie, close us out. What should every person understand about wealth?
I think the most important thing is to understand that wealth is not mysterious. It's not about being lucky or being smart. It's about following a formula. The formula is earn money, save a percentage, invest it, let time work. That's it. Most people don't become wealthy because they don't follow this formula, not because they can't.
Is it ever too late to start?
It's never too late. If you're 50 and you have 15 years until retirement, you can still build serious wealth. It's harder and requires bigger savings, but it's possible. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
And if you follow the formula,
You will become wealthy. It's not guaranteed you'll become a billionaire, but you will accumulate significant assets. You'll have money, you'll have options, you'll have freedom. That's what wealth is. It's not fancy cars and houses. It's freedom. Freedom to choose your work, your life, your time. Freedom to say no to things you don't want. Freedom to invest in what you believe in. Freedom to rest when you need to rest. Most people trade their freedom for consumption. They work hard, spend everything they make, and they're trapped on a treadmill. Wealthy people trade consumption for freedom. They spend less, save more, and they're free.
is that the real benefit of wealth?
That's the biggest benefit. The research shows that beyond a certain income level, around $75K per year, enough to cover your needs comfortably, additional money doesn't make you significantly happier. But freedom does. That's why wealthy people are happier than broke people. Not because they have more stuff, because they have more freedom.
Rosie, thank you for demystifying wealth.
Thank you for asking. I think this conversation matters because people blame themselves for not being wealthy when really they just need to follow a different system.
Everyone listening, wealth is not a mystery. It's a formula. Income minus spending. Invested. Compounded over time. Start today. Follow the formula. You'll become wealthy. And when you do, use that freedom well. That's episode 25 of Scale Up Stories. I'm Sakil. Wealth is a choice. Scale Up Stories is independent and listener-supported. If this episode changed how you think about money, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Subscribe wherever you listen. Leave a review. Links to Rosie's research in the show notes. Until next time, earn, save, invest, wait.